What's up, guys? The Gorilla Tavern here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a simple Kydex sheath. This is a video I've been wanting to do for a while. I've actually made this video once before, but it got corrupted, and so I got a new project, and I'll be doing this video again. So hopefully I won't mess up the video like last time. This is the knife we're going to be doing the sheath for. This is a Mora Campion. It's been customized from my buddy Long 13 Hair. If you haven't seen his channel, if you like zombies or beer, go check his channel out. He's a cool guy. Anyway, I'm gonna pause this and set up, and we're gonna start making this sheath. Okay, so here we are with our sheet of Kydex. So this is a 2-foot square piece. I buy all my Kydex in this size, unless it's only for a specific sheath, but you can get them in a smaller denomination. So anyway, we're gonna need a ruler, and what else are we gonna use here? Okay, so we got a ruler and a pencil here. When you're trying to figure out how big a sheet you're going to need to do your sheath, I'll show you some simple measurements. I like to cut even squares out of the sheet. It seems that I make a lot less waste than trying to cut out the shape of the sheath out of the piece, because especially if you're not using if you got a bandsaw, maybe that might be a little better, but I find that using my cutting shears, it wastes a lot. So I'll cut it into squares and then go from there. So on the blade here, we're going to want the sheath to be about an inch up, maybe an inch and a half up the handle, and the overall length is 5.5 from an inch and up on the handle. So our sheath length is going to be about 6 inches. Since this is a 12-inch long piece, I only need a section as long as this, because I'm going to fold it up this way. You want to measure your handle, or the widest part. So this is 3/4 of an inch thick. So we need a quarter of an inch, or half an inch to we're going to say half an inch of material outside of the sheath for the rivets. So we're going to add 3/4 of an inch plus half an inch is 1 1/4 inch. So we're going to need a minimum of 1 1/4 inch on either side. The width of the knife where the sheath is going to go through is about we're going to say 1.5. 1 1/4 on each side plus 1.5 through the center makes 3.5 inches. So I'm gonna cut this piece to about 3.5 inches wide. Actually, I'm gonna cut this 4 inches wide, just to give myself a lot of extra room. Double check your measurements. Okay, so that's 4 inches. So you've made your line. Get your handy dandy shears out. And these are just tin shears. These are the straight cut. You can get them in left hand or right hand bends. Which might make it nice if you're making curve sheaths, maybe. I don't know. But so then we're done with this piece. Okay, so here's the material, or the piece that's going to be used. You want to leave a little extra room. If you can see, well, it's not an exact cut either, but there's where the pressure hits it, it weakens the Kydex a little bit. So you're going to want to sand that off at the end. Okay, so this is my method of heating the Kydex. I have used my cheapy heat gun. I still use it for a lot of things, but the primary heating of the Kydex, I use the griddle. You want to set your temperature just under 300 degrees. Larger pieces, I can go up to about 300 for thicker or larger pieces. Got all kinds of stuff in here today. Okay. It's good to have a piece of aluminum foil to put over the Kydex if you got to redo it. That'll turn it into an oven, so if you mess up the press, you can always heat it back up. It'll lay down flat and you can try again. So I'm gonna fast forward through this next part, but you can watch it till it gets all floppy here. Okay, the Kydex has been on here for about 4 or 5 minutes. It's quite hot, but it's very flexible, like a big wet noodle. So I'm going to have to move the tripod here and get the camera set up over there at my homemade press. I will pause this and then set that up, and then what you're going to see next is me quickly putting the Kydex into the sheath, or put the Kydex around the knife into the press, and then clamping it down quickly. The faster you do it, the better definition you're going to get, but do make time at least to make sure the knife is in the correct position. Okay, so now we've got the Kydex. Put the knife in, make sure it's aligned properly. Clamp down and tighten. Okay, so I got a little kickstand on my press. This helps keep the pads from sitting on each other. Even if it's a lightweight press like my old one, the pads being continuously pressed together will eventually crush them to the point where they'll be pretty wore out. If you put a kickstand on your press, then you'll be able to extend the life of your pads for quite a ways. If you're making your own press, I suggest you find an old t-shirt, 100% cotton, cut it up and use it to cover the pads. That'll also make your pads last longer. This is a very heavy duty press that I built. It's I'll take you for a little spin here. It's 1 foot by 2 foot wide. I can make, I think, 18 inch blades. Sheaths I can make up to 18 inches. Got 2x4 and 4x4 construction on the swing arm. I've got the biggest, heaviest duty hinge on the back I could find. And this is the door hinge, or a gate hinge actually. You see I've got the 2x4, 4x4, and then these top planks are 2x12s along with the base. And I kind of leave it like it is. I could mount it directly to the bench, but I'm not sure I'm going to keep it on this bench. I still plan on making a new bench, so. But it's quite the press. That's the biggest one I've ever seen made. At least homemade, anyway. This is the original press I made. If you want to make like just small knife sheaths, you could make a press like this really cheap. I think I spent probably maybe $75 worth of materials on that, including all the bolts and stuff. On this one, I think I maybe spent less than 20, and that's just a 2x6, and then the regular door hinge. Instead of a kickstand, I'm using a chain to hold it up with some eyelets, and then this is just some other form stuff. The pads, and when I was telling you about letting the pads sit on each other, causes them to compress even more. That's from experience. This is actually 2 pads that I've squished beyond repair. They're about ½ an inch thick now. So I put 2 pads on this side, and I actually have no pads on this. I use this press now just for single-sided or flush presses on things. So, all right, it's been about 4 minutes, 3 or 4 minutes. That should be enough for the knife. So we're gonna pull that out of there and make sure that we didn't bump it or mess it up when we pressed it. That's a pretty good press. Very straight. There's enough at the end so that I don't have to snip it off real too short, and there's plenty on the handle. And we're only going to be cutting off about ½ an inch at most of all this, and that's very little waste. Okay, so now we're back to the table, and this is the next step in this process is going to be drilling the holes. You want to figure out exactly where the outline of your sheath is and figure out where you're going to put the holes. So for this part, we don't need the knife, so we can go ahead and take that out. And then I think I'm making this sheath, yeah, I'm making this sheath for right hand carry. So what I like to do is on a side that I'm going to be cutting off, put an F for the front. That way I don't get confused later. I've done that before. I like to do the pencil markings on the back just because I want the front to be as clean as possible. So we're going to take our ruler and we're going to make our center lines. So you find the center of your blade and mark out a center line. If you can see that. And then you're going to want to trace an outline. If you need to, you can use your ruler. You want to be at least 1/2 inch. We're going to give it 3/4 of an inch. I'm just going to make marks. And then use your center line as your guide to keep this as even as possible. Okay, so there we go. That's the basic shape I'm gonna, or the basic outline. There's a little thumb cutout right here so that you can press your thumb in there. Now, for the dots, or for the drill holes, I like to use a marker, since I'm going to drill the holes out anyway, and just place marker dots. Start at the top. That looks good to me. And so, to adjust this a little bit. That's better. So then we're going to go on the bottom. So we start at the top. We're going to mark our holes at the bottom. And then we're going to make one in the center between the two dots. And then in the center of those. And you can make as many as you desire. I think 10 rivets is going to be fine for this. I'm going to have 2 straps that are going to go across right here, or right here and right here, possibly. Yeah, they're going to put them right here. So I actually need to adjust this. So if you use permanent marker and you need to erase it, or if your kids get in it and draw on their faces, rubbing alcohol erases permanent marker. It's only permanent without it. So dry that off. See, takes it right off. So we're going to adjust these 2 top holes to leave room for the leather strap. That should work. But now all these holes are off, so I'm going to redo this whole thing here. Okay. So the pencil marks are still there, but the dots aren't. And that's another good reason to use permanent marker for the dots, or for the holes, and the pencil for the outline. There. Now we have evenly spaced holes. We got the outline done. We're ready for drilling. So I'm going to take you over there and I'm going to show you the drill.